everyone. This is Kim with Ramblings with Kim. As you know from my TikTok, I ramble a lot, but this keeps popping up on every page, it seems like, that I seem to run into. And so I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Now, I may not get a lot of followers here, but I do have several other sites that I do get a lot of followers on. But I'm trying to push some of the things over to YouTube because TikTok isn't always the best, as I found out from a few of my accounts. And Instagram also not so great. And I can't show what I want to show, which is the work that I've been doing in the Middle East. Unfortunately, this doesn't have anything to do with the Middle East. This has to do with my niece. Yes, my niece is married to Tyler Shuck. And this all comes down to a quote she said, and it's in regards to, we are a very competitive family. Yes, we are. That's why you've never heard of me. That's why you've never heard of my family, because my side of the family is the Tyler Shuck side of the family. No, we're not Tyler Shuck. We aren't Shucks. We're worm dolls, just like they are. Actually, I'm not a worm doll. But my brother, her father, yes, he is who I grew up with. I was the talented one in our family. I was the one where literally high schools were recruiting me. Colleges were begging to sign me. At one point, my high school, North Eugene High School, threatened to have me thrown in jail if I went to a different school. That's how competitive the world of sports were in Eugene, because I was a track and field prodigy. I also played baseball, softball. I also played soccer. I played basketball. I ran cross country, which I did not like at all. I did everything, and I did everything really, really well. On the other hand, my brother, not so much. Now, that is not his fault. That is not his fault. I have 4 children, and not all of them have the same ability to do what I grew up being able to do. Now, she likes to say how both her mother and father were college athletes. Well, her mother played on a not even a walk-on team, just one of those intramural teams for soccer. My brother, in fact, this is where the story gets interesting. All the resources from our middle-class family were taken and given to my brother in the hopes that he would become a professional baseball player. Well, everyone, including my grandfather, who was a professional baseball player, knew that would never happen. So they tried other ways. Like my dad helped build this gorgeous stadium, helped build a bus, and that gave him, like, he was the athlete of the year, things like that he was able to get because my father was going out and doing these things for him. In the meantime, even though I was performing at a much higher level, the resources were going to him. Sports psychologist. Yes, a sports psychologist for someone who was 5'8", weighed a buck 25, and was never going to get anywhere. His college playing days, the first 2 years were at a community college. And then he went to a very, very low college. I'm trying to remember, even maybe a Division III. It was a Western Oregon Community College, or Western Oregon College is what they're called. So it's not like they played college. I, on the other hand, received nothing. Most of my family is just starting to find this out, which is why they're freaking out. and they're trying really hard to contain all of this as much as they can. In fact, they're trying to contain it so hard that they're threatening other family members from contacting me because they don't want this getting out there. They don't want to know the true story. They don't want to know the abuse that I went through and the resources that someone who obviously was never going to get anywhere in their college or even their high school sports career were going to get those resources. Now, my poor grandmother, before she passed away, she didn't know this was going on the entire time. I hid it well. My doctors, not so much. Broken bones, black eyes, things like that I was told I had to tell a certain story in order to have the doctor look at me. He was having a hard time believing that I was getting hit by bats so often and basketball so often. I mean, I have kids that I played sports with that watched my father punch me. And none of this happened, of course, to Derek. And so when you talk about a competitive family, yes, we did have a very competitive family. In fact, we were so competitive that my brother often cried because I was so much better than he was. And he went to a soccer camp one year, and I wanted to go to the soccer camp too because it looked like fun. And my mother wouldn't let me go because she wanted Derek to be good at something that I wasn't doing. A lot of it just doesn't make sense. Now, Brandy apparently grew up with her father telling her that I was her competition. Now, I knew none of this. I knew none of this because I didn't go to school with his wife. I had always heard that her father was just the biggest jerk ever. Anyone that I've ever talked to has always said that. I mean, you can get her core group and her class whatsoever. But the people that I know that I've held on to, because we're military, so we've moved all over the place, have said that to me. I have instances of things like that, and I've watched them occasionally at Christmas time where they just behave like children, pretty much like their kids do. So it's really not that big of a surprise that they would continue on with this path, including the path of selling their home so that they could give their daughter this huge wedding to ensure that people knew that they were something. They were something, weren't they? They were really, really just these amazing people. But in the meantime, when I started having girls, Brandy loved to lecture me constantly. Girls weren't supposed to be girls. They weren't supposed to be interested in painting their fingernails, wearing makeup, having their hair done. All I ever got from her were lectures. And now her daughter, breast implants, whitening teeth, hair extensions, hair dyed, facials constantly, skin. It's just the cost of her clothes. It goes on and on and on, which none of it would have bothered me if they hadn't started with the lies. I am so tired of that side of the family and their lies, even to the point where I have tried to give out a scholarship to a soccer player at North Eugene High School because my coach was so instrumental to me and the reason I got so many offers to play at the college level, that she has done everything she could to block it. Block me from seeing pictures. I would not be surprised that if I flew out there, she would block me from going to the game. She will lie to get her way. She's tried to destroy my children's lives. She's tried to destroy my life. She did it to her other sister-in-law, who was simply trying to provide for her children after Brandy's brother passed away. And she literally took her sister-in-law to court because her sister-in-law was trying to pay rent for her house after her brother Dirk passed away. These are the kind of people we are dealing with. This is not competitiveness. This is not, I got a second faster than Kim, because I ran track my freshman year of college, and my 1500 was 4:29, which was 30 seconds faster than anything Brandy ever came close to. And she'll go on and on. Now their dreams have come true. She dolled her daughter up to be an NFL wife, right? You very seldom hear of Avery. Why? Because Avery isn't dating an NFL football player. And it doesn't appear that she will be. Brandy wouldn't even go to her gymnastics competitions. Now, if there's one thing my family did as much as we could, and we were a military family, my husband was a Green Beret. We traveled everywhere. And if that meant I had to drive 3 hours one way, 3 hours the other way, drop one child off, coach another child, I was going to do it. Because it was just me. It wasn't about me and the team that I was going to coach to greatness. That was Brandy. In fact, we came home our last year in Germany. We decided to cut our tour early because we had already stayed there several years after we were supposed to come home. But we decided to cut it a little bit early, and we were going to go skiing, and everybody balked about that. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. Josh or Derek used to ski, and I would think that as athletic as they all are, they would all like that. And there's all sorts of fun things to do. And if, for goodness sake, if I have to, cut off my last trip to the Alps because I'm coming home early, yeah, I kind of would like to do that. Well, besides being tricked into paying for the entire bill, which happened to me more often than not, apparently no one else skied but my family. And then Brandy makes a snide comment on the fact that I can ice skate. And she's like, well, you're just good at everything. Look at you. And I was like, well, yes, because I've been ice skating since I was like 7. My aunt and uncle, who we spent every Christmas with, lived on a lake that froze every year. So we went ice skating on this lake. It's not like I took figure skating lessons, but yes, Brandy, I am better than you at ice skating. I am better than you at everything. And I realize it blows your mind. So maybe I don't have a daughter that I dressed up and just, there's a word that I'd really like to use, but I really don't want to, because you've lied to your daughters and they don't deserve that. At least right this minute. But I have taught my children to be there for other people. So I may not be out there coaching as every school in the city has asked me to, but I spend my years every year, 2 or 3 times a year, cycling through the Middle East to see what really needs to get done. And the one year I asked Jordan if she needed help. And because you want all the glory, instead of accepting the help for her students, you decided to make sure everything was locked down so that those students couldn't get the basketballs or the wrestling mats or the shoes or the uniforms at this poor school. You did that, Brandy. And Jordan, you did that. And Eric, you're the ringleader. You always have been. Always out there, throwing a fit, having to throw a temper tantrum, having to have this, having to have that. So we are a very competitive family, but it's not competitive like she wants you, like Jordan wants you to believe it's competitive. It's competitive within the four of you. You all can't act that way because Avery's basically been blackballed like I was out of the family. Do you not see that? Do you not see where she was at when this was going on? Did you not see or think about how she might have felt? No, you didn't, Derek or Brandy. You didn't. Because you're too competitive and all you cared about was Jordan. That's the way your family works. That's the way our family worked. And I have done plenty. I didn't have to marry an NFL football player. I was happy with my little Green Beret going off and saving the world. Does he make $2.5 million a year? No, he didn't. My second husband died overseas. And my current husband is brilliant and managed to actually make something that goes in some satellite that you won some award for. I had no idea. I don't pay any attention to satellites. Every time I get started, I try to make it stop because I don't understand that. But I do understand the Middle East. And I do understand that if someone gave me $2.5 million right now, I would be in Jordan fighting to get food in to Gaza, not acting like a douchebag and going on about the orange spice Palpatine. Because some things are just more important to the world than how much you have in your bank account. We've got plenty right now. But if someone did drop that in my lap, that's what I would be doing. And it's really sad, Derek. You've always been this way. You've always been this way. And you've never grown up. And you've never learned. You're 55 friggin' years old and you've never been able to learn because you've been babied to within an inch of your life. You haven't lived more than half a mile away from our parents. You depended on them to take care of the kids so that you and Brandy could always work. That nice little daycare program that Brandy started at North Eugene was started so that she had childcare at the high school that she could rely on for free. Yeah, that's what she did. It was always something for you too. It was never something out of the goodness of your heart. It was for you two to have. Now, hopefully, since our father is so old that he can no longer build you to another free house, you'll be able to buy one on your own this time. Maybe that's the kickback that you're going to get from Tyler since you made this huge wedding for them all, that they were in turn going to pay you back by buying you a house. I don't know. I would not in the least doubt that's what happened. Or you just live with Brandy's parent or mother for the rest of her life to recoup the money that you would have lost. But either way, you'll never be invited anywhere near us. There is no excuse for a human being that is as horrible as you and Brandy. And you'll be able to put it on for the saints, an hour or two. But if you keep doing interviews talking about how great you guys are, how competitive you are, how wonderful you are, whatever, I'll make sure that these keep going out. I'd much rather talk about Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, and I will be going to the north of Africa. I'd much rather be talking about those causes. But Derek, I'm not the same person I was 25 years ago. I can do both. I just happen to have some downtime because I broke my ankle, twisted it, mangled it. just did all sorts of horrific things to it. So I'm at home waiting for it to heal, waiting, biding my time, working on my book. But you should be happy because your Nana and your Papa, and even Brandy, have some reprieve because I am actually doing this book on the Middle East and not narcissistic mothers, which is what the publishing house wanted me to do. So hopefully you go to the end and you listen to it all because all the good parts are at the end. Otherwise, how are you going to know that there's a book being written? Unless you get all the way to the end. Anyways, I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, a kid that's 25 years old, is almost ready to retire. He's been to 4 colleges. He's played 7 years. He's been injured 5 of those years. Had to have a non-injury season in order to be palpable to the NFL drafts. Didn't even have the stats that should have landed him where he did. The only thing he had was height. Maybe he'll do well, maybe he won't. God only knows. Oh, by the way, Brandy, did you tell them all that you're an atheist? As is my brother. Big, huge, giant atheist. I'm sure I'll be on here again. But this is my podcast for the day. And I'll probably wait 2 more days before I have another podcast, before I hear back from my friend in Egypt. Yeah. Everyone have a great evening. Bye.